Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propaganda Review with me, your host, Master of Reviews, Imperial Dane. Covering here, Darkest Dungeon, now fully released, no longer early access. What has changed from early access is basically since they've released in early access, I think they may have more or less doubled the amount of heroes, or at least close to double the amount of heroes. They've added a bunch there. They've added several areas. We've got the Cove there, which initially was always the Runes, the Warrens, and the Wild. And of course, they now finally had release added in the Darkest Dungeon itself, the end game, which is sort of more specifically geared and which require the highest levels of heroes. But of course, for those not unsure what Darkest Dungeon is, it is sort of a RPG, sort of based around four-man teams composed of less than usual types of heroes. This is the sort of stuff you might see in Dragon Age Inquisition. Yeah, again, I absolutely loathed that game in the end, but you're not dealing with the warriors, mages, and thieves and so on. It's crusaders, it's lepers, bounty hunters, grave robbers, man-at-arms, occultists, and so on. These are not exactly the nicest people in the world, the most regular people in the world. You're fighting here to secure a hamlet from the evils that your ancestor unleashed in some rather nasty ways. You shall learn of this as you fight different bosses. You will sort of get the details of the horrible things your ancestor did. And overall, and he was kind of a bastard, but at least he seems to sort of trying to fix it. Perhaps one always has the slight doubt he might be leading in some nasty things. You sort of fight and gain experience through quests. You again get resolve, which then makes them more resistant to stress from lower things, but of course won't help them much versus much higher things. They also slightly improve the resistance, I believe. Main stats, though, are basically affected by items and through stats. Items basically sort of fixed through here in the blacksmith, which requires a lot of these things, for example. Other items will of course be upgraded, and of course you find this stuff in the quests themselves. Trinkets are sort of, other things. They're items you can sort of more specifically go for, can interchange, and they overall do contain some darker things. There's the dark sides to them in this essence. You've got a head, for example, that can be utilized, a martyr seal, stunstone, and there will be a few that don't have any disadvantages to them, but most will do in some way have some penalty. For example, this one of the rare that just gives you heal skills. But of course, you might, for example, have this one that make sure you actually eat food. But on the other hand, you're less likely to dodge hits. So there are sort of a lot of things there throughout the game, and overall it's sort of dark Lovecraftian feel, great music, great narrator, and again the uncharacteristic classes you sort of got, the fact that in fact any of them is more or less expendable except for perhaps two you start with, and that's mostly because of an achievement. The rest you can basically toss away if you want, they can die, and again the only impact they have is time as you have retrained new ones. Place it out there again. This is just sort of you're throwing endless adventurers into a dark and terrible dungeon to try and sort things out there. Again, this is not a noble quest in that sense. You hire more. Again, you have stagecoaches. You can easily pull off new ones, throw them out if you don't like someone, replace them with some you think, oh, alright, I can use that one. So that again creates this interesting and fascinating dark dynamic, and combat of course just keeps adding more and more to it. Initially again they hadn't much there, of course you just fought, but now there's corpses, so you have to fight tactically around corpses. Enemies now have more effects, and of course as you hit the higher difficulties, for example, you just get more and more of these curious effects, these dark and terrible things that can sort of throw you off your game if you're not careful. Now let's go for this one actually, which of course creates its own interesting dynamics, because there's going to be large difference, for example, from a apprentice green to as for example medium champion level, and so on. Boss fights of course also become increasingly tougher. More mysterious monsters are added as you delve further and further into these horrible things, and overall it's pretty damn great. You have to of course assemble equipment, try and plan ahead for what might be there waiting in the darkness, ready to do horrible things to you. And horrible the things will be, which again is great. It's a game that really challenges you, does not cuddle you. It will punish you for any mistakes you make, and it will even punish you when you're playing well. So be armed with plenty of patience when you go into the darkest dungeon, when you fight the horrors below, or besides, or wherever this was supposed to be. Oh, that didn't work out, despite having a pretty good chance of it. And of course light is another factor. Again, this darkness, this risk, and as light sort of decreases, you'd also sort of lose some of the tactical advantage like scouting and surprising the opponent. You gain tactical elements, but other elements are gained. Of course, the enemy also gains from it. They suddenly have a chance to surprise you. They do more damage, have better criticals, but you gain better criticals. And you get better loot, which means, you could, in theory, go completely dark and just score a lot of cash, but you might hurt yourself. And of course, there are other things hiding in there. Some things are just more random. They're specific monsters, but there are also things hiding, lurking, like the Collector with his collection. And of course, you have all these quirks, these little affections of the different characters, which cause them to act strangely. Some might suddenly begin picking up things, touching things they should not be touching in the first place, never should have touched, even considered touched. They can do terrible things like unleash horrible monsters, and it's oh so wonderful, in a sense. Not for them, obviously. So, overall, it leads to a really, I think, fun and exciting and challenging game that just sort of throws you deeper and deeper into the mountains of madness. And good lord, that looks terrible, yet exciting. Tentacles plunge down from above, and I have no idea what that's going to do at all. Big slap. Oh, criticals, of course, also an effect here, and of course they add stress. Stress, of course, being the other one. The mental aspect of this war against the unholy, your ancestor unleashed. One mistake can result in terrible things. They can break or they can rise to the challenge and become heroic, which gives them bonus, but also allows them to bestow bonuses upon others. So again, there's a lot there to the game, a lot of fun things hiding in the darkness, like they shouldn't. Which again, I think really makes for a fun and exciting game, something which I've personally sunk now plenty of hours into. And again, I backed it back then in Kickstarter. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, though of course I mentioned the other one. Doing PayPal, so again I might have some vested interest, but again I don't think I'd be bothering with this if I didn't enjoy it. And again, that's primarily what the review is for, you explain why do I enjoy it, why do I keep throwing myself into this dark hole of madness, despair, and horrors beyond counting. Not a counting though, that's another set of horrors entirely. Well, that's lovely. Dodging the air. A rain of blight. Oh, thankfully they resisted. That is always something. He failed to hit there. And now we got another one. And again, that way, they can suddenly appear with more out of nowhere. And there's little you can do about it half the time. And in that sense, again, the game can suddenly throw you new things as you sort of learn. And again, that's also part of the experience, just learning about these new monsters. You throw them in, and of course again there's then the darkest dungeon, which again is the darkest place. Horrible, terrifying new monsters. I haven't even been there, I haven't dared going there. I'm looking forward to it. And then of course there's also future plans for the game. They're planning to add more characters, town quests, more things to do, and so far. We sort of look at their history again, what they've done since early access. I'd also say, there's likely something happen there, when they say, we're going to add more heroes. I'm more likely to go, alright, I believe you. And again, they're going to do this for free. This isn't something you have to pay for, at least not initially. This is all part of some Kickstarter plan. Later down the road, who knows? There might be some sort of large expansion packs, but it's not intentionally, so initially trying to sort of screw people over. They aren't, Warner Brothers or EA. But again, it's just a good game. Again, good sort of RPG, very focused, very clear, good design. Overall, it fits into a cohesive whole. And again, here we go. Also, in this battle is just constantly evolving, constantly growing, bigger monsters, more horrors. The tides keep going worse and worse as one desperately tries to sort of stop these gelatinous monsters' previous adventures corpsed within them. And the madness just continues. And it's great. It is absolutely great. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So, again, amazing stuff. And again, I think I can easily recommend it if you're into sort of RPGs and something a bit darker, not something that's looking to hold your hand or kiss you or do anything like that. And again, the art style itself, of course, is also quite nice. That is also jolly damn good. Game for the books. That is for sure. So again, I mean, overall, this game very much has my, recommendation. This is the good thing, the recommendable thing. And again, hopefully, there'll be more great stuff after they sort of put out what they sort of promised via Kickstarter and all that. Hopefully more down the line shall come. And of course, just add more to the game. So hopefully this has gotten you interested in Darkest Dungeon. It is currently, I think, $20, so it'll be later be $25. So of course you might want to go now or while you can. And if you're interested, there'll be a link there in the video description. So if you like this video, subscribe, review and share, all that. And of course, comments is always free. If I miss something, if you're free to ask a question, I'll try to answer it as best as I can. But again, overall, 2 thumbs up here from the propaganda industry. So hopefully this has been enlightening, and hopefully see you another time for another review. This is Imperial Link. Cheers, and see you another time. Bye.